As we finish up our restoration projects, I wanted to also introduce the following assignment so that maybe we can start becoming a little more familiar with InDesign. So I'm going to briefly review the project guidelines with you and the general interface of InDesign. That way next week we can go right into techniques for completing that project. The guidelines are here. What I'm looking for is that we'll be using InDesign to do one of two options. Option one is to create a magazine. I suggest that you look at like current magazines, whether it's while you're standing in a checkout line or because you follow some yourself already, to see what sort of design elements you like in the work. Some of us might like, really high editorial type looks. Some of us might get something that's a little more different kind of structure. Check out how they have differences in fonts, how headlines and first sentences work. Different graphics, images, writing styles, etc. Both options have to have a theme, so make sure your magazine has a theme. It can be fashion, it can be Photoshop, it can be video games, it can be camping. Pick something that you would like to spend time looking at while you're doing this. Try to focus on a topic. I'm looking for the magazine to include this list here. I'm looking for a cover page. You can make this in Illustrator or Photoshop, whatever you feel most comfortable with. The use of facing pages, right, like a magazine would look. Multiple columns, at least one image that shows text wrapping, which I'll show you how to do all of this, of course. Some images that relate to the different stories and articles you're publishing. Of course, a name and a logo for the magazine you're doing. The different images that you'll be including, and at least one ad. The ad can be half a page, a quarter of a page, or a full page. I want it to relate to the magazine that you're, making. I want your ad to relate to the magazine in some kind of content that you are making. If you're making a full page, I'm expecting there to be a good amount of work in your advertisement. I won't be looking for, text on a solid color background. The second option is to create a brand identity for a restaurant and make a menu. Again, your restaurant should have a name, a logo, and a menu that has apps, main dishes, sides, drinks, desserts, and etc. Again, we're going to be using the principles of design to demonstrate these skills that we have learned in Photoshop and Illustrator so far as you are laying out these designs. Option two may look easier because it is a condensed, design. It's not 6 pages. It is your magazine has to be 6 pages. The menu can be a front and back. It might seem easier, but it's really the same amount of work with image layout and text and things like that. Also in the guidelines, I would like to point out that I'm expecting you to have sketches on paper before you start working on the computer, coming up with ideas, design ideas, themes, and start designing your project in advance. I'll be looking for these sketches in the zip file that you will upload along with your InDesign folder, and the final exported files. Let's look at a couple samples here. This is for the magazine project. So you can see here that this is from Wagstaff School News. It's in the fantasy world of Bob's Burgers, right? So this is as if it's the kids' student newspaper. You can see here it has a little table of contents, a title, here's an advertisement for babysitting service, right? Again, a table of contents with page numbers, right? That's really nice for magazines to have the date, the page number, that kind of stuff. You can see here's the text wrap. They're just using placeholder text. I don't expect you to write every article. You can just put a general design layout with placeholder text. All right, so, fake interviews. Another advertisement. All right, and then we have our menu sample here. So we have the brand and the name, their hours of operation, which is really nice, you know, this fake Instagram. And then, of course, this layout here, different text and typeface. They have nice, you know, menus here with, you know, the prices, soup, specialty items, a lunch special. Nice little menu here. The reason that I'm giving you two options that you can pick one or the other, the magazine or the menu, is because you might be in a class where you've done an InDesign project in the past, and you might have already made a magazine or a menu. So I'm just giving you the options, so hopefully you would select the opposite version this time, so you can continue to practice your skills here. Of course, so before you start your project, you're going to want to make a folder on your desktop for your InDesign project, kind of similar to when you work, you know, in Premiere, you know, or, you know, After Effects, where you have to have all of your files together to kind of link to themselves. So I have my InDesign, I'm calling it the InDesign lecture for you guys. I have this folder on my desktop. I have my edit page, which has my, my edit file, which has my actual InDesign file. Any fonts I would download, I'd put here. Here's some images. You know, you can put, you know, your logos and whatever in this media. And then, of course, output would be a final PDF. So I have all of my images together, or all of my media together, everything that you need. Any sketches, you know, you can put a sketches folder and, you know, bring your sketches in. The idea behind this project folder, of course, is that everything you make in InDesign for this InDesign project lives inside of this folder. So if you ever move this folder around, you won't lose anything. So I just have this InDesign page, this InDesign document open, and I'll just quickly review the InDesign interface. This here, you can see, is called Essentials Classics. I have some panels open here that I want to review. You'll notice it looks very similar to Illustrator. And InDesign uses concepts kind of from Illustrator and Photoshop. It's a little more heavy on the Illustrator side of things. So if you didn't like Illustrator, you may not like this project. Although there are plenty of people who love InDesign and hate Illustrator. So hopefully this is useful and fun for you. Specifically though, InDesign is a specialized program made for laying out large projects like books and magazines or anything with multiple pages here. So on the left here, we have our tools. Of course, some of these you should be recognizing from Illustrator as well. My rulers are active. It's in pixels, but you can see that they are open here. I have my control panel on the top of the screen. Let's see, I have, you know, different panels open here. We have pages, which shows my page layout, layers available, different images that may be linked here. I have the properties panel open, right, which depends on what you're selecting here, right, similar to Illustrator, when it'll just fill up with the proper properties that related to whatever you're editing, you know, with the appearance. I have stroke, I have color open and swatches. I have here what's called pre-flight, pre-flight is an export panel. It tells you here if there are any errors. You can see here that it's telling me that there is an error now. You can open the pre-flight panel also down here if you don't want this panel to be open. You can see here I have one error, so I would have to look for that. All right, let's see here. So we have stroke. We have, some people might want gradient open. Some people like to have styles open. You can see here that you can open that and add these panels if you wanted to do that. Maybe the effects panel I would want to include. So now I have this, and I'll just, you know, I'll shove it in here. I want it to have its own panel down here. Great. So you can see here how I'm moving it around, you know, how I can move the panels around if I want to redistribute how they're laid out in a way that makes more sense to me. Okay. And let's see, was there any other panel? There's a text rack panel, but we'll review that more in the next video, you know, with text and type. I just want to quickly show you some of the preferences for InDesign. We have, you know, general interface preferences. You can choose your colors, just like, you know, in Photoshop. Let's see, you can reset them if you want to at any time by pushing reset. If you're using a shared computer in the lab, I suggest that you do that. We have our type options. You know, you can change how the units of our rulers and our measurements here. We have, let's see, InDesign does have a spell check, which is pretty great, as well as an autocorrect, which you can turn on. And you can see here it makes common corrections for common mistakes. And then we have this option here that I want to review, which is called Display Performances. So in InDesign, it should automatically default to what's called Typical Display. And what that means is any image you put into InDesign will be automatically lowered to its lowest resolution, simply for display purposes while you're working on it. So it can, you know, compress a 10 megapixel image, and it might look really crunchy or pixelated, and you might become confused because you know that this file should be better than that, and that it should look nice, but InDesign downscaled it. They simply do that for performance reasons. It just makes it run faster if it's not constantly giving you high resolution previews of your graphics or images. If you want to turn that off, you can switch this down to high quality, and then your images can be shown at high resolution. But this really only is good if you have a new and or fast computer. If you have an older or slow computer, I would use typical. At least that's what I suggest. And then there's also fast. And if you have it on fast mode, it'll have a better performance, but graphics will be grayed out until icing will be turned off. You can see here it gives you what the settings will be based on these default views. So if it's fast, you can see here that raster images and vector graphics are grayed out. Transparency is turned off, but it's going to be running much faster, right? Better performance. Typical is kind of in the middle range of things. It's not high quality or, you know, zero quality preview. And then, of course, you can have high quality, which is showing you the highest resolution and qualities for everything that you can. This part here, Greek type, this has to do with also for previewing your files, for previewing your document. And what this means is if you zoom out far enough, you won't be able to read your text anymore. And this is set to 7 points. So you can see here I'm zoomed out far enough that it's showed as text, but not a legible text, right? There's that. An appearance of black, you do want to have rich black on your screen. It just shows a much better, deeper black. I suggest you start with that. So again, you can see here how the placeholder text, if I zoom out enough, it becomes illegible, and if I were to zoom in, you can see here that it does become legible afterward. Of course, this is unreadable placeholder text, right, filled with lorem ipsum. So let's see here. Here's a blank page. All right. So you can see here some of the tools, again, that you should recognize from before. We have the selection tool and the direct selection tool. We have a type tool, the pen tool, you know, our rectangle tool. You can see the gradient tool. Very similar to Illustrator, we have our color and our stroke, both of which are empty right now. You know, rectangle. And I'll fill that out. I can review some of this control panel on the top here. Of course, you can see here that you can add color here in this drop down. You could also, of course, double click in the swatches menu. You can choose color in here, right? You can also pick stroke if you wanted to have a stroke here. And let's see. We have our box dimensions over here, right? Let's see, we can do something like shear the box, which is going to tilt it on an angle. So I can just drop down here and show you, you know, what this looks like here when we, you know, can shear our boxes to kind of tilt it. I can rotate it, right, by using this rotate tool. They also, of course, have these flipping options if you want to vertically or horizontally flip your image or rotate them, right? So I can change, you know, my stroke pattern if I want to have a stroke on this, which I have. It's kind of small, so I can maybe make it, you know, bigger, and, you know, you can, of course, you know, change your stroke appearance right here. Let's see, you can do things like add a drop down, a drop shadow with this button here. And if you want to add different effects to it, you can just use this drop down here. And, you know, maybe you want to add a different effect to it. You can get to those options in here. Let's see what else. This is the text wrap options over on the right side. And down here we have some more text wrap options. And you're going to want to make sure that the alignment is not set to selection, but aligned to page. And now if you use these, you know, align tools here, it's aligning it to the top or the center or whatever of your page instead of your selection. It's not really going to help you. All right. All right, so you can see here in this document that I have open that there are two columns here. The purple line is the margin, right, where I'll probably keep all of my stuff in the page, right? And then there's this bleed line. That's what this red line is here that's extending out. And so it's showing me what's called our safe area. The bleed line will extend images or color to this, you know, you want to extend this to the bleed line to totally fill a printed page, right? This is how you would avoid getting, like, you know, a white line bordering your pictures. That's how you would do a page fill. So what I want to show you next is the frame tool, which is this tool here. It's a really awesome tool, really great feature here, and it's there to let you lay out your page before you put anything on it. So you might make a frame for the headline, let's say, if this is going to be a magazine. And then maybe another frame for your intro sentence. And then maybe a couple frames for the article itself. All right, I'll just match that. All right. Okay, so by default, you can see here the frames are empty. You can put text and you can put images in them. So if you take the text tool and just click on a frame, it will convert it to a text frame and you can write in there. So maybe here we'll write headline. And we'll want to make it, you know, something really big as like a, you know, a placeholder. You know, and you could start experimenting with maybe what font would look like. So, you know, you can have your intro sentence here. The same thing, you know, if you want to add an image in the frame, there are two ways to do it. You can click and drag an image in, or you can click on the frame and hit Command D or Control D. And it will open it'll have a pop-up for a folder so that you can find your stuff. I'm going to just, we'll use this picture here, and we'll add that in. Okay, so now that image is in the frame, you can see here that the image doesn't fit the frame at all, right? The frame stays the same size, and you have to resize the image. You can do that by clicking on this little circle here, and you can see how large the picture is. You can see the bounding box of the image, and you can start scaling it down. I'm going to hold Shift so that way it keeps its proportions. And now our picture is fitting much better. You can also right-click on the image and look at different fitting options where you can proportionally fill the frame, right? So it's reaching to the top or the bottom and it's centering the image, if that's going to work. Let's see, there's fit frame to content, which would just expand your frame. Fit content to frame, which will totally resize your picture. You can see it's a little squished looking now because it changed the proportions. All right, cool. And you can also see here that it's showing a low res image because of the display mode, right? You can see here in the pages panel that I have multiple pages. It's showing me where I'm at. I can move them around. And as I start bringing my images in, you'll see different links here, my linked images in the links panel. So if you click on it, it can take you to that image, which is what it's doing right here. This and review some of the tools, see what the panels look like, so that as you're sketching out your project, you can have an understanding of what it'll eventually look like in InDesign. And next week, I'll have another video where I'll show you some more of the tools and the things that you can do to make your life easier as you're working on your InDesign project. So that is everything I want to review today. I really encourage you to start playing with InDesign and becoming a little more familiar with it. And reach out if you have any questions. Please check out, again, the assignment guidelines that are posted for this week. And good luck finishing your restoration assignment.